Awkward sex. So let's go there. First time I farted on somebody when they went down. I am so sorry.
You ladies been to Vegas?
With you.
Oh, yeah. That's right. We had the best time in Vegas. Unfortunately, no one walked in on you. So my husband looks up a sex club to go to. Definitely very awkward to be a part of. So we had all this like nervous energy just like charging up, and we go to a room and just have sex ourselves. And we're like 25 minutes outside of the strip, and we're like already feeling uncomfortable. Like, did we make a mistake?
Like there was one point I remember there was this big thunderstorm and we were alone in the car reading Walden. And he let me have his copy and I was like, oh yes. But I just like didn't want to even cuddle him after that. My body wasn't a no, but it was like a neutral.
I feel like I have a lot of awkward sex that just happens naturally. Being a human and like we're being primal and like naked and like messy, and that's just like it's part of it. Being so kind to ourselves right now.
It's okay.
Sex is a way that I deeply feel connected and close with somebody. It's something I use to feel close with people.
Oh, interesting.
Hey everybody, welcome back to my Libido Lounge podcast. I'm your host, board-certified sexologist, Dr. Diane, and I'm going to be introducing you to a few of my friends. We're talking today about how to keep your libido high and how to keep your libido high during the ebbs and flows of a relationship, or if you are between relationships, how to still stoke your own libido so you can still have all that juicy energy to put back into your work, to your life, to help balance your hormones, balance stress, and more. So this is our third and final edition of this round of the girlfriend episode. So you will meet my friends again in a second. And we will do more girlfriend episodes here in the future, several months down the road. So please do subscribe so you make sure to stay abreast of when we release new episodes. All right, everybody, let me bring on my friends and let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Libido Lounge. I'm your host, board-certified sexologist, Dr. Diane, and I have another girlfriend edition coming up today. I have a super good treat. So I'm going to introduce you to my girlfriends, and as we did last time, we're going to use some alter ego names to protect everybody's privacy. And we're going to talk about awkward sex. We're going to talk about how we work with awkward sex. What do we do? How to make it not awkward, or how to just go with it anyways today. We're going to tell some great stories and hopefully get you laughing. So I'm going to first introduce you to Yonisun.
Hi, Libido fam.
And to Venus Ruby. Hi. And to Cosmos. And to our furry friend on the couch, to La Rose. All right. So for our first question today, guys. Awkward sex. So let's go there. So my first experience with awkward sex was first time I farted on somebody when they went down on me. And it's like the early times in awkward sex, it's like mortifying because we're already getting our confidence up. And then to have like a moment like that and have no idea how somebody's going to respond or no idea what to do. I think it could have really gone so many different ways. Like what happened was this very kind man, we took a moment and a step back and I just said, I am so sorry. And he did the best thing, which is he just said, don't worry about it, baby. And he just kept on going.
That's great.
And I just love this because I look back in time of like what could have happened, and he could have got up. He could have been weird about it. He could have walked out of the room. He could have like shamed me for it. And it could have really left a scar. So I think it's such an important conversation for how we care for each other in these moments of awkwardness, just to like not have those types of permanent memories and realize that these are human bodies and they're going to do some that's like human things. And farting and queefing is sometimes part of what happens.
They be making some sounds.
They be making some sounds.
Did you find now that you feel okay farting during sexual encounters? Do you feel more relaxed about it, or do you avoid it?
I mean, I still try to avoid it. It's definitely not like something I still really do appreciate, like things that feel sensual. So I do try to avoid it. But if it's like something that just happens, it doesn't feel, I don't have that shame or that worry about it. It's just more like, this is something that just happens sometimes, and that's okay, and moving on. And but yeah, it's not like I still try to like not do that. That's my preference. Yeah. Who else has an awkward story to share?
When I think about awkward sex, gosh, my mind goes immediately to my first and only time going to a sex club, actually, with he was my boyfriend at the time. He's my husband now, so I'll just refer to him as my husband because that's a little bit easier. We were in Vegas for the first time, and I don't know, have you ladies been to Vegas?
Mm-hmm. With you.
Oh, yeah. That's right. We had the best time in Vegas. It was a question just for the podcast. It was like, yeah, shit. Good setup. Vegas can bring out like your inner sex kitten, whether you are anticipating that or not. And it was my first time. I was not anticipating that. And so my husband looks up a sex club to go to, and we talked about it. We made sure that we had our agreements around going in, kind of our intentions, and we went for it. And I had all these ideas in my mind about what the experience was going to be. I even wore this black like cutout bathing suit that was really ultra sexy with black pants, and in my mind I was imagining it was going to be like a lot of dancing and like angels dancing in cages and dark and mysterious and shit. It was none of that. It was neon lights and like, you know, fluorescent lights above and really kind of like tacky and seedy, quite honestly. So we call our Uber, and we're like 25 minutes outside of the strip, and we're like already feeling uncomfortable. Like, did we make a mistake? Like, it was not quite tracking the way we thought it was. And we get dropped off in this very quiet, dark, random area of warehouses. And we're like, okay, you know, we made it out here, might as well go in. And we walk inside, and there's like no music playing, bright lights, just like a lot of random people kind of sitting at tables, and definitely no sex happening. So I immediately just like zip up my jacket all the way up to my chin to cover what I was wearing, because it just felt so inappropriate for the environment. And we proceed to sit down and just have some conversations with people. And a couple people kind of approached us, but nothing that we were really interested in. So we had all this like nervous energy just like charging up, and we go to a room and just have sex ourselves. And the whole time we're hoping that someone will just walk in on us. But unfortunately, that did not happen. So it was the most sexless sex club I could have even imagined. So we hang out for a little bit longer, and then finally this young hot couple walks in, and my husband goes up to them and says something, and before I know it, we're like walking into this room together. So my husband starts going down on me, and then the other couple starts having sex, and the guy's trying to get me and his lady to kiss, but I had some cannabis beforehand, and so my mouth was so dry, and I was so nervous that like I couldn't even do that. And anyway, we just got through the experience. We ended up closing out the Red Rooster, and the couple drove us back to the strip, and it was very lovely. And so now it's just this, you know, kind of silly memory that we get to reflect on, but definitely very awkward to be a part of.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just another good example of those like taking something like awkward and just like making it like normalizing it, and like not putting any like words or rules or meaning behind it, and just being like, okay, that was that. Right. Yeah, I'm very, very brave, you know, very, very, very brave to like completely try something new like that and just go for it and have the agreements and have the rules and all of that. Which a lot of people, I think, when they try things new, they don't always there's not always that understanding of having those agreements. So it's also very, I think, wise of you guys to know to do that before walking into a situation like that.
Through some potential scenarios before going in, but unfortunately none of them came out from Unfortunately, no one walked in on you.
Not yet. Yeah, would I go to another sex club?
I would go to another sex club, but I would want it to be like the angels in cages dancing, you know.
We could fun that. Yeah,
Yeah, I think there's something that we could say. I think I watched Body That the other night in Denver, so I think, like,
Yeah. Amazing. What other awkward moments do we have to share?
Yeah, well, what comes to mind for me is interesting both of your stories of like the growth opportunity in it. I don't want to say that I don't know that mine did have necessarily like a huge growth opportunity, or there was. I don't know if I saw it as a growth moment. It was just awkward, and I didn't go into story or anything around it. So this was many moons back, and there was a guy who was in the same friend group as mine. And so we'd show up a lot at the same party or the same like gatherings, you know, dinners at friends' houses. And we'd known each other for several months. And then there was this camping trip that we were all on. And something shifted in that camping trip where there was a definite like attraction and sexual tension between us. Like there was one point I remember there was this big thunderstorm and we were alone in the car reading Walden. And he let me have his copy. And I was like, oh, yes. Anyway, and so it was several months after that we were at a party again. And we're talking and chatting and rode back to his house on his bike. I rode on his handlebars and was really unsure about it, but he made me feel really safe and confident. And, you know, so there had been kissing and some like, you know, touch, not like really deep, but, you know, just some contact, definite sexual chemistry and between us. And so we hooked up that night and it was just really bad. Like once it got beyond just kissing, like there was just no connection there. It wasn't just that like the sex was bad. There was just like nothing there. And so that was an experience that was really awkward. And honestly, it left me really confused because I just like didn't know that could happen. Like I didn't know that you could feel such attraction and have that chemistry with somebody and then you actually have sex and it's just like It's a dud. Like I keep wanting to use the word bad, but that doesn't quite feel right. It just, a dud feels more like it. Like just nothing was really, really there. And we didn't talk about it. You know, now if something like that would happen, I would, you know, have a conversation. But at that time period, I think I was also just shocked. I was more in shock because I just didn't have words. I was like, what do I do with this? So, you know, I had stayed the night at his place. One of us was in the bed, one was on the floor. Earlier I had shared the story and I actually think I said it wrong. Like pretty sure he was on the floor and I was on the bed. He was a gentleman. But I just like didn't want to even cuddle him after that. Later that week I had to go and meet him to pick up an earring of mine. And that was like our last like true one-on-one interaction. So yeah, it was just a weird, awkward like outlier. Like I'm like, maybe that happens for people. I don't know.
Makes me curious about just like the intelligence in our own bodies. You know, like we have this innate intelligence and maybe the body just knows when something is not right. And maybe it's tied to biology, procreation. Like, nope, that is not
Maybe
not
well,
where you're supposed to procreate.
I 1000% believe in that, in the intelligence of our body. I think that was just so interesting because like contact, kissing, there was a lot vibing. But it was more than that it wasn't.
You know that scene in Back to the Future where Marty goes back and his mom kisses him because she has a crush on him. And she's like, I don't know what it is, but it's like kissing my brother and it feels really weird. Like, what if he's like your long, distantly removed cousin?
But kissing, it wasn't there. I mean, kissing your...
No, it's just a random example.
I like that example, though.
What if you're like related somehow?
Or another... Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, there's just no... Yeah, I think it was just ultimately really curious because there was attraction with like kissing and other touch, but it was like when it was more than that it totally...
Yeah. What if he's gay now?
He's married now to a female.
Oh, okay.
Still could be gay. I don't know, but I hope that they're really happy and having great sex. I was just shocked. I was like, oh, it was not...
Did you take any of that personally in like wondering if it was, you know, like what about you or if it was just the chemistry?
It's a good question. I'm proud of myself in saying that I didn't, because at that time I did have a lot of insecurity around my body. And if I think back on that, like I didn't make it mean anything about me. I didn't make it mean anything about him. I just was like, that was weird. I'm confused and shocked and like, clearly we're not going to play canoodle again. So Yeah. No, yeah, it didn't influence any sexual interactions I had moving forward. Like it wasn't in my field. It wasn't something that I carried in my brain for a while. It's honestly something I don't think about.
Well, enough because you've had so much great sex. That it's like
I'm pretty fortunate. Yeah. Yeah.
Curious, did he give any indication that it was mind-blowing for him?
Well, like we didn't have like
Did he seem like, were there any like sound effects going or?
I think he did have some sound effects. Yeah, actually, I have to think about that. I don't know that he gave indications that it was mind-blowing for him. I think he was in resonant that like it was awkward.
Yeah.
It just wasn't like
And this is why, ladies,
wasn't meant to be.
never fake your orgasms. Just so the man is, whoever it is, knows the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't fake anything.
Yeah,
I can't really fake, if I'm being honest. I don't hide what I'm feeling well at all in any scenario. It just comes out. So, yeah. No, I think that, I don't think so. I think he also, I don't know if he thought it was as weird as, like, surprising as I did, but I don't think.
every time for him might have been mediocre.
Well, I happen to know a story I learned about a couple months ago. That's why this story has more come up of someone else that he had sex with that was also really not good. So I don't know. And they had sex years ago. But yeah, also. So
One of my curiosities is it's so interesting to me how like kissing and that part was like that was a yes, right? And I'm like,
yeah.
So it's like fascinating to me too around like what shifts in the body where it's like yes, all of a sudden, oh hell no, this was not interesting to me. And I think in like the most takeaway like points, like important points of this is like whatever the body is saying at any given point, like it can be yes and it's okay if it's a no, and like the body is allowed to change its mind
1,000%.
and to say like 1,000% listen to the body, like the body's intelligence. And my body wasn't a no, but it was like a neutral. Yeah.
It was, you know what I mean? It also wasn't charged. It was like, well, let's see, and we completed the, whatever. It wasn't like it was a long lasting thing. So definitely wasn't like disregarding body.
Yeah.
And there just wasn't anything there. Mm-hmm. It's kind of weird and unusual to be neutral or a dud.
Yeah.
When you felt really turned on, like there was a lot building for months, at least like 8 months, maybe like between him and I.
Yeah.
So
Really that goes together. Like oftentimes like
it was just
oftentimes like hot makeout sessions are a good indicator of like the chemistry to come, but it's a good example of just like not always. Like
yeah, and the first night we kissed was that night too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
But that was enjoyable and fun.
Sometimes, even when awkward sex, it's the journey to get there and not necessarily the destination.
All right. Yeah. That's could be said with like sex in general. Like destination's amazing, but the journey's also amazing. And we skip over the journey, I think, rush the destination so frequently.
I agree.
That's what I find more and more I need is a longer sensual journey towards a destination. Those are my best experiences. I'm a very sensual person, so I need a lot of touch and contact and slow. Yeah, a lot of slow build.
Yeah, me too.
So Cosmos.
We're so eager to say yes or awkward. I feel like I have a lot of awkward sex that just happens naturally because like I think it's true with dancing too. Like I'm not very good at following a leader in dancing. It's like a practice for me, and I think that happens in sex too, where like it just gets a little clumsy and mismatched. Or like I've like farted so many times during sex at this point that like it could be like, oh well, can we take like a quick pause and like maybe this is hydration break because I really have to fart or whatever it is. So yeah, I think that it just happens in my like clumsiness and I don't take it like into my next sexual experience because I feel like that's just part of like being a human and like we're being primal and like naked and like messy and that's just like it's part of it. But when I think about an awkward sexual experience, the one that comes up for me, and it wasn't me being awkward necessarily, but having sex with a woman who had a lot of buildup, and I don't know if this happens for you, but sometimes if I have a really good masturbation session, like intense crying will follow, and not because I'm sad, but just because like there's that release that happens that feels really good, and it's like a really good cry, especially in the shower or wherever that is. And that's what happened with this woman, where we both came, and at the end of her orgasm was like heavy sobbing and like needing friendship, and like I held her hand, and again, maybe that was awkward for her, and like there was some awkwardness because I was just having fun, and it was like this heavy thing for her, and it had been a long time for her too that she's had sex. I hope she's doing well wherever she is, but like that was like seemed really awkward for her in a very vulnerable moment and very raw, and not the way that she wanted that to end, I'm guessing, or like me either. But
Yeah, really unexpected when the body just decides it's time to have that release.
Yeah. Were the two of you newer sexual partners, or had you been sexual before?
no, we'd been friends for some time. Yeah, we'd been friends for years and had like flirted a bit, but never had sex. And like she came to visit me in Denver, and it was understood too. Like we were both like hooking up, and so it was very honest about that. But we didn't really talk about like what our relationship would look like after that. And I think there were a lot of feelings about that too. Like she wanted it to be a thing, and we lived in different cities, so I didn't even consider that as a possibility. It was just honestly sex for me. And maybe that was also part of what came up for her too, is like knowing it was finite.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it feels almost like insensitive to call that an awkward moment, because I wouldn't want her to feel that way.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like,
Well, I think awkward, that's why I use the word like unexpected, because you maybe didn't imagine you're having fun and play, and it does lead sometimes to really deep and emotionally connected, vulnerable experience, So I think those words can be sometimes, interchanged. And I think what comes to is like she must have just felt, or her nervous system, and conscious of it or unconscious of it, like really safe with you.
yeah.
Maybe that comes from like the friendship that was there too before, to help her, allow her to have that level of release.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's nice to think about.
I also think like this whole conversation to me on awkwardness in part is about making it okay for things to be awkward, and like taking out like the good or the bad or like the charge one way or the other, and just like as humans, like sometimes it's okay. Like experiences can be awkward, and that's like totally okay. It's like it doesn't mean anything, right? And it's just like okay if we feel that way, or if somebody else feels that way, and it doesn't mean anybody's a bad lover or anybody did anything wrong, or like it doesn't have to be bad. I feel like to feel that it's just like information that our body is giving us in the moment.
It's just part of the experience.
Right. Exactly.
I feel like what really helps set the tone for easy awkwardness is if after the first time you have sex with someone is you make sure you fart afterwards, which is a true. It's a true story. The first time that my partner and I made love, I farted immediately afterwards, and I was like, just so you know, this is who I am. Like, this is what you do. If you're not okay with this, we're not gonna work out. So just to like get that up.
Yeah, as well. I don't normally know that I have the urge to, but like I'm gonna sit with that now. I'm like, okay,
It wasn't a choice.
Yeah. I love that as like your sex tip. Yeah, advice. Just have you. Yeah. Well, and I think that both of what you, Diamond and Cosmo, said of like awkward, like it is part of being human, and when your body's moving and slippery and you're in the moment, like things will happen and hearts will hit, or this will hurt, and just rolling with it and allow like humor or lightness if that's available, or not needing to make a story or not needing to make it right or wrong, and just recognizing, we're just humans being in our bodies. We're doing a very primal thing, and sometimes it feels totally in sync, and sometimes like, something's a little like off or funny, or what do we need to recalibrate, and just using that as information to be curious.
Yeah.
And I think like noticing too, like the difference with awkward, like it can just be like a normal part of like a very healthy relationship of having an awkward moment, and differentiating that between like your story around like, oh, this is actually information for me of like, this is not the person. Right. So there's like that momentary awkwardness around like, oh, yeah, versus the body being like, oh, no, this is not for me. And they're very different, but they're both examples of awkward moments. But what we do with that information is very different. Yeah.
I feel like it's more embarrassing even in sex to like accidentally hit the person in the face, or like,
I've like
clumsy
the head with my leg before.
Like the head.
Yeah, like I've kicked his head with my
Oh yeah, right. Like that's a really good example, and you're like, "Oops, I'm so sorry," and like you have to get back in the moment, or
take
or
a pause.
or take a pause. Yeah, yeah.
So you just here's him in that.
Yeah, and that's fair, right? Because you're moving your limbs in horizontal ways, which you're not normally doing in your day to day. So it's fair. Yeah. It's fair. Yeah. Being so kind to ourselves right now.
It's okay. I think it's also like a testament of just like as women, we're always like associating experiences and ourselves to perfection. It's like comparing ourselves to this idea of perfection always. And I think it's just a really gentle reminder that we don't have to do that. We don't have to hold ourselves to these exorbitantly high expectations, and we could just be present in the moment.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think men do that also, like have that performance anxiety because they're often doing more of the action, right? Like I'm curious if men question their performance in that same way that we like, think about our perfection or lack of perfection.
I imagine it comes up, right? But I don't know that that's like the regular dialogue in a man's mind. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not.
It would be.
This would be a good maybe conversation for a Libido Lounge, but
Yeah, I'm gonna do boyfriend edition someday. It's like
yes, yeah.
I want the boys to spill
over height edition. Yes. I do think there is something though unique to the female brain and just our effort, like the orientation of like getting it right, getting it perfect, setting things up, that the more we can soften just being in the brain and the mind and more what is here, what's in our body, what's in that feminine essence, which is really primal and really raw and unraveled. There's less of that performative, the energy of performative comes when I think of what you shared around like seeming to be perfect or whatever, and just getting to be more real. And with realness is some awkwardness because it's unexpected. Yeah.
Have you heard that saying that men need to have sex to feel close and women need to feel close to have sex?
For sure.
Yeah, do you think that holds true? I mean, it does for me. You don't need to feel close.
I do. And sex is a way that I deeply feel connected and close with somebody. It's something I use to feel close with people.
Oh, interesting.
But I know that's not the most common.
Yeah, I definitely think there's research and evidence like showing that even from arousal, right? Like from a standpoint of arousal, like there's a level of touch and closeness and being engaged in that before like this is where the 20-minute rule comes in for many women around. It takes sometimes 20 minutes into actually being sexually engaged before women sometimes are even turned on. Right. And I think some of that is related to exactly what you're saying there around like we need that closeness in order to actually feel like we're interested in sex more commonly as women.
Yeah.
In their generalities. But I think they do hold some level of truth to them.
Well, where do you think the one night stand then falls on that spectrum? Is it just like in the chase, like, or is it not even about closeness at all? Is it just something that's completely different and
sexual desires too, right? That lie outside of relationships. So maybe that's part of it. But I forgot what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I feel like I won't say much because that would be I feel like a whole. I have a lot of
episode.
Yeah, I have a whole lot of thoughts. I have a whole lot of thoughts on that, but I do think it's I think generally, like I think exactly what we're saying is very true. What you had to say, Cosmos, right? About women needing more time or more maybe emotional connection versus, men just, and I think individually we're all really different. And so I think even individually, the one night stand, you could probably make some big generalizations of what that's about. But I think for each person uniquely, for some people it would totally not be right. For others, it can be a really informative part of their journey. And really important, and maybe get a lot of not only just pleasure but like a lot out of that.
Zip my lips there. That women tend to have more intense orgasms if they feel a potential long-term connection to a partner. And I mean, I've just heard that, and I'm a serial monogamist, so I don't have a lot of data points, but maybe that's part of the one night stand too, is like thinking about this person as a potential mate, whether consciously or subconsciously, right, like could inform how your sexual experience is.
Maybe. Probably for most. I think there's some. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't answer these questions. I don't know. I mean, I've obviously changed. I'm not in that zone anymore. But one night stands has been a big part of my sexual experience, and doesn't fulfill me anymore. And there's something that I really sought out in them. There's something about the novelty of it. Yes, probably some of my more profound orgasms were in container of relationship, and I have found it for me in the past very easy to have really pretty incredible orgasms in one night stands. And I think that has to do more. I don't want to like share too much because it does feel pretty vulnerable and personal. But the high level would be like there's the novelty of like there's no attachment, like there's no expectation. I feel so free to just let whatever wants to come up. There's a freedom that I feel in those in those experiences in the past. Yeah.
If it gets really awkward, you don't have to see that person ever again. So you could just be, see ya.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or like leave. That's happened. My old goes, bye. Sorry. No, that's with care. And
you're, of course, very respectful. Actually, no, I know.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like my experience with them, which was like mostly in my 20s, was novelty. And I feel like there was like, you mentioned that I feel like it was a huge part of me just exploring different humans and learning and growing and just having experiences that were so vastly different. So I feel like there was such a important part of them for me blossoming into my sexual self. And then at one point I decided that was not for me anymore. And it was like starting to notice the differentiation of like when I was in relationship and the depth that I could feel like I could get into with pleasure and orgasms versus so I had that experience that you're bringing up around like, yeah, it was rewarding and fulfilling in some ways, but from a standpoint of like the depths of the orgasm and the depths of where I felt like I could go in my sexual experiences, I was finding that it was just not the same at all, which made me become, decide that I was just no longer interested in that kind of experience.
I wanted to clarify, yes, I agree with everything you're saying. That was like, but it served me really strongly for a solid period of my life in my sexual evolution as a female, also being raised super Catholic and not being that. So I think I had to go the other spectrum. But yes, I think what you're all saying, like, agree, like, yeah. Just wanted to like love it. Hopefully I'm coming clear, not just like, yeah, I still love it. No, like I really desire and crave more that contained long-term relationship. Likely monogamous, but I don't know at this point for myself, but to experience greater depths of intimacy.
And it's crazy how much it changes based on where you are in your life or what you're seeking in relationships. And the example that came up for me is that as a queer woman, when I was wanting to get pregnant, all of my sexual fantasies were heterosexual. Like I'm very, very clearly where it was pretty mixed or like
interesting.
Yeah, even
logical.
Even more like because I happen to be in a heterosexual relationship that when I have masturbation fantasies, they're usually about women because that's like what I'm not getting currently, but when I wanted to get pregnant. And even during my pregnancy, like it was like men only. And even like men that I wouldn't normally be attracted to, I was suddenly attracted to. So because of their like stability or kindness or whatever, like totally not even my types. Yeah. But weird how my body like knew what I really wanted sexually, which didn't match up with my life experience.
So interesting.
Yeah, no. And now it's switched kind of back, in case you want to know. Like now that I have a child, I'm like more split down the middle because I don't have that the drogy anymore. Yep, already got no injured and all done. Yeah,
so interesting.
I'd love to know like the hormone part of
1000%.
You know about that
and other stories of others, right, who are similar. Yeah, if that's like a similar experience, I mean, I would imagine. I don't want to assume, but I would imagine.
I'm curious to know what others have experienced.
Yeah. Wow.
So I'd love for you guys, we have like created so many questions. I'd love for you guys to leave in the comments like your thoughts on some of these things. So if anybody's listening that is bisexual and have had any sort of experiences like Cosmos has shared around craving one sex versus another, one gender versus another when you are looking to have a child, would love to hear about that. Would also love to hear from both men and women around like performance anxiety or just anxiety in general. Like, does this ever come up for you where you're feeling a sense of like really needing to perform and it's actually interrupting or changing your ability to be present and enjoying your intimate relationships? Feel free to remain anonymous in your comments if that would help your ability to comment. We'd just love to hear from you. It'll help us create more amazing episodes to support you and your journey. And I want to thank my girlfriends for being here with me today. And just to remind you guys that you can go to hotterlife.com to get a free copy of my ebook, 5 Easy Steps to Mind-Blowing Orgasms and Romance. So that's hotterlife.com. I'm Dr. Diane. We'll see you on another episode. Ciao for now.
Everyone.
Well, that's a wrap for today. I hope this conversation around emotions and jealousy has helped you a lot. Please do subscribe to the channel because we have another girlfriend edition coming out. Don't want you to miss that. We're talking about how to stoke your libido through the ebbs and flows of relationships, as well as being in and out of relationships during that in-between time. And please make sure you go to hotterlife.com to download my free ebook, 5 Easy Steps for Mind-Blowing Orgasms and Romance. See you soon. Ciao for now. Thank you for listening to the Libido Lounge. Please don't keep me a secret. Please share this with your friends. You can find me on YouTube, on Instagram, as well as how to work with me at mylibidodoc.com.